Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis of commodities. We'll take a look at the dollar, 10-year yield, 30-year yield, and so on. Reason we go through all this stuff is because it gives us a good picture of market conditions. Market conditions are what values assets around the world. Again, I'm going to give a quick example just to give you an example. Water, when it's plentiful, is free. Water in the middle of a desert when you're thirsty and starving of thirst is ultra valuable. Two different separate market conditions, two different supply-demand situations there, and assets get priced differently. So when we look at these market conditions, I'm trying to paint the picture of why I think, given the data in the markets using technical analysis, that a commodity bull market is still game on. And we're going to dive right in. I'm going to give you my financial opinion. It's just my opinion. And we'll take a look. So here we go. This is the DXY, the US dollar currency index. I call it a relative strength indicator. It just tells us relative strength of the DXY in relationship to mainly the euro, Japanese yen, and a couple of other currencies. And right now, I don't know if we're doing a head fake, if we're slamming our face against this resistance level. This white line going across right here is that resistance support level. We're right on top of it. Now, the longer we stay up here, the longer we close, the stronger it gets. But we're putting a little wick at the top. This could get rejected here, and we bounce back lower. We're at that resistance line, which is providing that resistance. Let's zoom in and take a look on the daily candlesticks. And you can see, if you zoom way in, that we've got this big bearish engulfing pattern here where we could break back down. Now, we haven't broken back down yet. We've got a nice sideways candlestick today. We have to see what the buyers and sellers are going to do here. If the buyers keep ramming this thing higher, or conversely, people keep selling the euro and yen and all these other currencies because of the situations that they're in, I think my interpretation of this is that we are going to go lower at some point. Why do I think that? I think that the American economy is somewhat strong, but I still think that we're going to have problems in the other currencies where those currencies could have problems in terms of, as in a collapse of GDP, a collapse of all that stuff over there. I think their inflation rates will slow down at some point, and their currencies will strengthen. Usually, when you go through kind of a deflationary collapse, your currencies strengthen. They don't get weaker, usually. I don't think we're in that dire of a situation in America. So I think that the DXY has a better chance where we actually get more inflation, where we catch up to their natural gas prices, we become interconnected, and that the dollar will weaken against these at some point. I don't know that exact turning point. Is it 3 months, 6 months? Is it today? I don't know. And I don't think it really necessarily matters if you're a long-term investor in this stuff. I just think that it will eventually turn over and become a tailwind behind our investments. The 10-year yield is remaining very resilient. What that means is we are continuing to head higher, like I thought. And at some point, we could see this relax a little bit. Inflation is coming back with those SPR releases and whatever paper games they like to play. I don't know if they're playing the games or not. I'm sure they are. But I do think that this could maybe come back a little bit. And then we'll see an increased rate of inflation at some point. Why do I say that? Because when the SPR releases stop, I think oil is going to go back up. I think when the LNG terminal Freeport comes back online, I think that natural gas and oil are going to go higher this winter. I think that the inflationary forces are all still intact, and that an energy crisis around the world is still going to have an impact on our energy prices. So I think that's all ahead of us, except we're coming into a weak demand portion of the year for both of those. So that's kind of my take on it. We'll see if it plays out that way. TLT, which is bond prices, still heading lower with momentum. I still think that will head lower. And I don't see any reason why this doesn't continue to head lower. There will be an opportunity at some point where bonds might be a really good investment when the interest rates get really, really high and we start to roll back around, when we start to bottom, go sideways. That could be a very good opportunity for investing in bonds where you have low downside risk, good upside potential in a crash type scenario when the Federal Reserve stops raising interest rates. That will be ahead of us, but not yet. We still have nice, good tailwind behind TYX, the 30-year bond yield, still rolling higher. We've got a long-term major breakout. That's a big deal. We zoom into the dailies, and looking at the dailies, we are still getting that nice momentum higher over time. No reversal candlestick. This still looks like it wants to move higher, which means higher yields, lower bond prices. They're inversely correlated. Looking at the CRB index, getting a little bit of buying pressure here. Again, we've got a lot of momentum here. I think it's going to take some time, and we could bounce down and touch this resistance support line. The big long support line here is, if we zoom out, a couple of hits, and I think we could potentially hit this support line here. It's going up at a pretty fast rate, but I still think that everything's intact and our problems are not necessarily resolved in the commodity complex, and I don't think they'll be resolved for a while. Gold, so we've got a flat dollar, a higher yield. Gold doesn't necessarily like the higher dollar. We do have a bullish setup here still. I call this a bloody nose. What that is you get a big, tall guy, candlestick, and then you get a small down day next to it, which is a red day, and that is a bloody nose for a continuation move higher. So that's what we're seeing in this setup right here. That is called the bloody nose. It's usually a continuation pattern. So you get a reversal candlestick, you get a little small down day, and then you get a continued move higher. We'll see if that happens, but that's usually what I see. Silver moving higher. Again, it's a small little up day, called it a bloody nose kind of, but everything still looks good in silver. Platinum look a little bit stronger. We're heading higher. I was a big buyer. If you guys were part of the website, you know what I was doing. I shared it with everybody down in that area. Looking at the XAU to gold ratio, looks like the gold and silver miners are strengthening still, bullish engulfing here. We're getting follow through today with more buying pressure. I still think this will head higher. This is all very short-term driven that we're looking at here. If you look at the long term, we still have this big guy that we have to break out of. We break out of this, it's party time. This is called knocking on heaven's door. We got to knock on heaven's door a couple times, bust on through this thing, and then we'll be in heaven as this thing goes up in terms of returns. I'll call it portfolio heaven for those who are holding gold and silver mining companies. Looking at SILJ, it is rocking on out off this support line. Still looks all right. And GDX also getting a little bit of that bloody nose type movement. It's a small up day, but I still think that this will continue higher. We're right on support. There's a bunch of support in this area right where we're at. So I think it's a good risk-reward area. Scrolling on down to crude oil. Crude oil up 1%. I know they don't like crude oil at this price, they being the Federal Reserve and government. Elections are coming up. They want lower inflation numbers. They want lower everything. I think that this will continue lower, and this is a reverse of a bloody nose, and I think that we'll eventually work our way down to $75 a barrel. That's going to be one heck of a good buying opportunity. And if you guys want to know which companies I'm going to be buying at that time, natural gas and oil, definitely sign up to the Platinum membership in the description link below if you're interested on how we're going to play this and when we're buying it. And that support line, if you look across the long term, it's basically sitting on the tops of this guy here. There's a couple of bounces here, another topping pattern here, and that's where that support level is. Natural gas getting a little bit more buying pressure here. Looks like we got the Livermore cylinder still in there. A little bit of buying pressure. I still got to see a little bit more sideways action for me to be completely sure that this is bottom, but we've got good support underneath this. We've used it a couple of times, hit our head there, came up, used it as support here a couple of times, used it as support through here. So we're in a support region. We just got to see if that holds. But I do like natural gas. We're coming up into winter in a couple of months, and we're going to get that linkage back with Europe. So I think this is going to be a fun little play here coming up at some point, and there's going to be some good investment opportunities. XOP, yeah, you know me. This is the ETF for the oil and gas explorers. We are hanging out here. I don't necessarily know if this pullback is done yet. If oil were to head back a couple more bucks, I do think that this could potentially head lower. But it doesn't look horrible, doesn't look great. It's kind of in neutral territory right now. I do think that we could see a little bit more downside before moving higher. These companies are all of really good value. I am selling nothing. Don't get me wrong. I am an entire bull on this entire sector. So I like it very much. Looking at OIH, which is the energy service companies, popping those up there. OIH, yeah, it's right below this support resistance line. I think we'll get support here. We may have a little bit more time that we chill out in this general vicinity, and then I think we'll work our way higher. The energy service companies are in a unique situation where if other areas cannot pull their weight, I think that they're going to do a drill, baby, drill on this. And if we vote other people in, they may be more inclined to drill, baby, drill too. So if we go the drill, baby, drill route, I think that the energy service companies are going to do very, very well in that scenario. Scrolling down, looking at uranium. UX1, that is the futures pricing. Future pricing still remains resilient. I think it looks good to go higher. No problems there. Looking at the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. What do we see here? Nice, strong move, moving higher still. The buyers are still in control. Again, our eyes are set on 1815, closing above it, holding above it, and trying to get a monthly close above that would be ultra bullish. I don't know if we're going to get there this month. We might, but we are taking a run at it, and we'll see if we can break through it. We're going to get resistance at that level first. We may hit our head on there and do a little kind of a looping type mechanism where we hit our head and then pull back a little bit and then break up. Consider it a cup and handle type formation. And that's a possibility, but we need to break above that resistance line, hold above it, and get moving. URNM up 4.54% today. That is a strong, that's very strong for an ETF, number one. And we've got good momentum. I'm hoping that momentum can continue. We've got a strong closing today. What we had before is basically a little pennant formation that we've just broken out of, and we're continuing higher. The next thing we want to break is this downtrend line. It's not a super strong downtrend line, only 2 hits, but it would be nice to close above 86. We've come across this resistance line here. We've broken through that. Positive. Good momentum. Positive. Finishing strong. Positive. We do have a little bit of stickiness coming through right above us. So we're coming through this sticky area. We are cutting through it, hot knife through butter on some of these days. We're stair-stepping higher. I like what I'm seeing. I think this could lead to a breakout and a much bigger move. Like this time is when Moon, when Lambo, wife-changing gains, all of those things could potentially happen. Looking at CCJ, obviously, I like covering this. This is our leader here. It's also moving higher. We do have a little bit of selling pressure up here. We can see it with the wicks. The wicks at the top. It means that we went up, sold off, went up, sold off, went up, sold off. So there is resistance up here. We are definitely hitting resistance. We can see the previous wicks up here. We've got wickage all through this. And we just need to break through all this. If we break through this, we've got lots of resistance if we were to draw this across right above us. This is that stickiness area all through here. We got to get through it, break through it, and it's going to take a little bit of time, I think. If we cut through it like it's nothing, you know you're getting to the ultra bull mode where things could really start to take off. So I'm going to leave that line there. That's that resistance line that we want to break through. It's just above us. We are getting a little bit of resistance. We got some buyers that may still be in this stock from that time period that are pretty crusty. They're like, I just want to unload my shares, get me out of here. So we're hitting the crusty owners back here that have held since that time period. You know, sorry for them, I guess. But it's looking good to go higher, in my opinion, and the momentum's going on up. We got to get through the stickiness. That is what we want to do. And obviously, we got a lot of big gains in the uranium area. Large single digit, some double digit type gains. So that's good for anybody who owns it. Looking at TAN also still looking strong. I think this thing looks absolutely beautiful for a move higher. It looks ultra strong. Broken downtrend, big up day or week, and I think we'll continue higher. The energy crisis is alive and well, and it's showing it in all of these different energy areas. COPX, this is our copper global miners ETF. Again, we're up against that resistance support line, and that's a typical spot that I look for potential opportunities, is when you're up against that support area. So we've come on up. We've had a little bit of a pullback. We're starting to gain some momentum. It looks good. And I'm still, you know, I like this area. I think the diversified mining companies are paying fat dividends. I think that they're all worth a look, if that's what you're looking for, are dividend type plays. Looking at the CRB to S&P 500, we are pulling back a little bit. I do think that these can go up together. We could see an outperformance of stocks in the short term where this kind of pulls back. And then commodities are going to be game on, light it up. When oil comes back, I think this fall, it's going to light it up, I hope. Why do I think that? Because the problems are not solved, guys. I don't think they're solved. And I think we're going to see some good moves in natural gas in the Henry Hub. And I think oil is going to remain pretty strong. Now we've got rare earth metals ETF, REMX. This guy is moving on. It's getting some legs underneath it. We're seeing the overall stock markets get some legs underneath it. I do think this is going to go higher. From a long-term charting perspective, I love the way this thing looks. It looks super bullish. We've got nice, good support coming in. This is a double bottom or a W bottom. And we're starting to come back up, and I think we could see higher prices here. If we're going to try to do all this renewables and all these other things, they're going to need rare earth metals. Lithium is still remaining quite resilient. I like it. I think we're going to go higher with the overall markets going higher. I still think it looks really good in the short term. SPX heading a little bit higher, still looking good. You can see that this is very similar to lithium, very similar to rare earth metals in the way that this chart looks. But I do think in the short term, we still have that momentum behind us. US Composite Index is the same thing. We're using this as a support level. We're going to head on higher. When we get to this resistance line, then we're going to figure out which direction it wants to go. EEM, we had a slightly stronger dollar. Again, we're slightly just moving sideways in EEM. This is basically inversely correlated with the DXY. XHB, yeah, we're moving higher, looking good. It's trading very similar to the overall markets, but that looks good. I think it will continue higher. Nice, strong finish for XHB. Broken down trend line, everything's still intact. If we are going to go higher, we need to break this guy here at $68 and close above it. that means a higher, we've broken out of the downtrend, established the level. We have a higher low, and then we're going to come back up and see if we can break through this. If we break through it, it's a higher high, and that is a downtrend reverse to an uptrend. If it does that. Lumber still looking strong, 2.7% up. And we're getting a little bit of momentum, catching our feet underneath us a little bit to move higher. So that's looking good for lumber. Palladium rocketing higher today, a little bit of wick at the top, but that's looking strong. Cocoa futures, again, we've broken out of this downtrend line. We did a little retest. I still think this is game to go higher. Wheat still looking good, a little bloody nose or so. That looks good to go higher. Soybeans, we're up a little bit, 0.18%. If it wants to show up. We're still kind of hanging out down here. Not much of an opinion there. Corn moving sideways, still looks good. Looks like we're just kind of in this like consolidation, pennant formation, flag formation. Copper rocketing higher. Again, we want to close above 375 and create an uptrend from this downtrend movement. But it's working its way. We'll watch and monitor it. Moo looking good. We're right on support. Again, I like buying on support levels. It looks good down here, in my opinion. Looking at aluminum. Aluminum is also at support, gaining a little bit of support right at it. I think there's some good opportunities there for aluminum. That's looking like it's starting to turn around. I like it there. Man, this thing has just been killing it. Look at that. Look at that absolute busting move higher there. Breakout. And then we've got Baltic Dry Index moving down right there. We've got support coming across in this general vicinity if you go all the way back. But yeah, we're getting a little bit of an upside move there. And there's a couple of companies maybe that I like in the Baltic Dry Index still. And then this is uranium. You can see the vast outperformance of Uranium versus everything else. I think that uranium is looking the best of any sector. It's going to be hitting all the momentum traders soon once we break 52-week highs. So looking good. But that's what we've got for today. If you guys need help figuring out what companies, I did release a daily update. A lot of uranium companies are in that update. And I look at it from the technical charting perspective. I do look at the fundamentals. Some of them are very speculative in terms of exploration companies and stuff like that. But if you guys are interested in that, Platinum membership in the description link below if you want to figure out which companies you want to get into. I also have dollars per pound, which is a valuation of how many their market cap divided by how many reserves they have. So that's dollars per pound. And you may get some value out of that as well when you look at those things. But overall, guys, uranium still looks really good. It's probably the strongest sector of all of them if I were to be looking at anything. I think right now, oil still has a little bit of downside momentum that it has to work off. I think we're going to get a good buying opportunity in the fall. I don't know the exact timing. We'll watch the charts for that timing. And if you're a Platinum member, we'll go over the companies that I really like at that time. And what the charts look, if they look good, I'm going to be looking at some of those companies for further investments. So hopefully you guys had a good day today in the markets. Hopefully you're feeling good. And if not, you know, I'm here to help you. So give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website below in the description link. And we'll catch you later. This is Finding Value.